Discover the incredible life-changing moment when a millionaire rescued twins in a snowstorm. Jack Thompson stood in front of his upscale home, the kind built for relaxation, a warm hearth, and laughter. But all that surrounded him was silence, deepening and thick as the snow that swirled restlessly outside. He was a millionaire, self-made, hard-working, and respected in their tight-knit Midwestern town. Yet in that moment, the weight of his estranged relationship with his twin daughters, Emma and Olivia, clawed at his chest. Their basketball practice had run late, and as a fierce snowstorm descended, dread settled in. He thought about their frightened faces trapped at school. The thought was nearly unbearable. As the storm raged, a sharp knock at the door jolted him from his thoughts. It was Mrs. Bowers, a neighbor, her face lined with concern. "Jack, did you hear about the bus? It's stranded. The kids need help." Quaking with worry, her eyes held his, begging for action. A surge of determination washed over him, battling the cold knots of regret in his gut. He wanted to be the father they once adored. Without thinking, he shoved on his work gear and stepped outside into the chaos. The blizzard slapped against his face, each step a struggle against vision-depleting winds and icy drifts, the familiar crunch of snow underfoot echoing his racing heart. Each shove through the storm blurred the lines between fear and determination. Memories flashed: Emma's infectious laughter and Olivia's fierce spirit, now masked by silence and a chasm created by his own neglect. He pressed on, propelled by the hope of reclaiming the connection he had let slip away. Along the path, Jack encountered a veteran trudging toward the school. "Got my own demons, but you're doing right, son," the old man nodded, his eyes full of understanding. Next, he met a high school teacher, bundled from head to toe, coordinating a rescue mission, her smile flickering like a candle in the storm. "We'll get them home safe. Together." Her faith ignited something deep in Jack, igniting a spark he thought he had lost forever. As he neared the school, he could hardly believe his eyes. Struggles turned to strength amongst the students huddled together, Emma and Olivia leading the charge, planning a way out. Gone were the frightened little girls he remembered. They were powerful, resilient teenagers who had faced the storm with grit. That revelation struck him like a lightning bolt. Were they stronger than he had been? Rushing into the school, he saw them there, their smiles vibrant against the shadows cast by his guilt. They embraced in a flurry of warmth amidst the cold. Jack felt a flood of emotions grappling within him: regret, pride, joy, sorrow, all swirled together like the snowstorm outside. Laughter erupted as they bonded over silly memories, pushing away the tension like snowflakes caught in the wind. Before they could lose each other to the blizzard's grip, Jack faced a moment that felt vast and heavy. Would he stay, bridge this gap, or return to the isolation of his successful life? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. A fierce gust of wind howled through the windows, and a chill crept into the room with a haunting reminder that their moment could be lost as the storm swirled outside. Jack paused, chest tight. Could he finally confront his past choices and begin anew, or would this blizzard merely be another marker in a story of regret? With the weight of their futures heavy on his shoulders, all he could do was hold their warm hands, share their laughter, and hope that this moment was just the beginning. Jack pulled his daughters close, feeling the warmth radiate between them in stark contrast to the frigid blizzard outside. The world swirled in chaos beyond the school's walls, but here, in this moment, time felt suspended. Emma pulled back slightly, searching her father's eyes. "Dad, are we going to be okay?" The tremor in her voice cut through him like a sharp knife. "Absolutely, we'll be just fine," he lied, wanting to believe it himself. The truth was brewing inside him, a storm of fear mixed with hope. This was the moment he had longed for, a chance to reconnect with the girls he had unknowingly distanced himself from over the years. As the adrenaline faded, sharp memories surfaced. Late nights at the office, missed games, one more meeting that kept him from a school play. Regret draped over him, heavy and suffocating. Emma and Olivia had turned into these amazing young women, and here he was, still clinging to a version of himself that had chased success while ignoring what truly mattered. "We're not going anywhere until the storm passes," Olivia declared, her voice firm, resonating with determination. Jack felt pride swell within him. Yet, he feared he could never truly fill the empty spaces his absence had created. "Do you remember that time in summer camp? We built that huge snowman and named it Frosty?" Jack's voice wavered as he tried to change the mood. The girls exchanged glances, nodding slowly, eyes brightening with the shared memory. Frosty was the best. Emma laughed, her cheeks blooming red, recalling how they paraded around the campsite. Jack stifled a smile. That was the magic he had missed, the laughter, the lightness that should surround family. Amidst the heavy weight of regret, a new emotion crackled through him: resolve. He could change. He could make promises that mattered. "We can be a team again, just like before," he said, sliding his arms around them again. "No more missed moments. I want to be here, really be here." Olivia nodded, her expression softening. "We do like that, Dad." The structure of that simple statement, filled with unspoken wishes, ignited a tender feeling of hope within him. But just as quickly, a shadow crept back. Was it too late? Outside, the snow continued to blanket the world in white. The wind rattled at the windows, as if trying to remind them of their precarious situation. With few people braving the storm, the school felt eerily quiet. Jack glanced toward the main office where children's drawings hung on the wall, innocent symbols of joy and connection. Then his heart sank. Would they be able to rebuild this bridge? "You can count on us, Dad," Emma said, her voice steady and sincere. She intertwined her fingers with her sister's, a physical bond that mirrored the emotional strength she wished to build between them. In that moment, Jack decided. "Let us make a plan," he said, urgency creeping into his voice. "Once we get home, we'll have regular family nights, games, dinners, whatever you want. What do you think?" A flash of excitement ignited in their eyes. "Could we have pizza on Friday nights?" Olivia asked, her grin infectious. "Pizza it is." He laughed, a sense of relief washing over him. That small exchange seemed to cut through the lingering weight of guilt. Yet as they plotted plans for the future, a nagging question lurked in the back of his mind. How would he handle the inevitable storms that might arise in their relationships? Would he falter again? The howl of the wind waned, as if giving way to the possibility of change. But with it, uncertainty loomed. Would he truly step up when it mattered most, or would he drift back into the shadows of his old life? As they settled back into camaraderie, warmth flooding between them, the sound of the door creaked open. A chilling gust rushed in, and they turned to find someone standing there, silhouetted against the storm. Jack's heart raced. Who could it be? The dark figure slowly stepped forward, the biting wind retreating behind them. Jack's heartbeat echoed in his ears as he strained to see through the swirling snow. The familiar outline became sharper, revealing a tall man wrapped in a thick, black coat. Jack could hardly believe it. "David?" he croaked, recognition flooding through him. David, an old friend from college, stood there with a wild mane of dark hair, pale cheeks flushed from the cold. A hint of worry danced in his eyes as he stomped off the snow from his boots. "I saw your car abandoned out front. I was worried. Is everyone okay?" The tension in Jack's chest melted slightly. "We're fine. Just hunkered down until the storm clears." His voice was steadier now, comfortingly familiar in a moment that felt surreal. David's brow furrowed as he scanned the room. "What are you doing here?" "School's closed for the storm." Jack exchanged a glance with Emma and Olivia, who were now both visibly curious. Long story short, I wanted to reconnect. We were just talking about family night plans, he admitted, his heart stirring with a mix of shame and hope. Family nights, huh? David's lips curled into a teasing grin. Sounds like you've got your priorities straight. But seriously, I'm glad to see you with them, Jack. Just then, the lights flickered, and a dull hum filled the room as the power threatened to go out. Jack held his breath. The last thing they needed was to be plunged into darkness. Don't worry, I brought candles, David chimed, pulling a small backpack from behind him. We're set to hold a little bonfire session right here. Olivia clapped her hands, excitement bubbling up. Jack felt the weight in his chest lift a little more. It was a simple gesture, but it rekindled warmth in the cold place they found themselves. Okay, let us do it then. Jack encouraged, feeling a flicker of inspiration strike. This can be nice. Maybe even a little tradition. As David set up the candles, flickering flames danced around the room, illuminating their faces in soft light that cut through the storm-esque gloom. They shared stories, and laughter bubbled up like it used to back in college. Each shared memory resonated, stitching together the missing threads from Jack's heart. Remember our road trip to the mountains? The one where we got lost for hours? David laughed, slapping a knee. Jack joined in, the joy warming them apart from the cold storm. But his mind kept straying back to his daughters, sitting with wide eyes, soaking in this rare moment of joy. They deserved this, a father who showed up, who listened, who was truly present. Suddenly, Emma spoke up, her voice cutting through the laughter. Dad, can we tell our funny stories now? Jack felt his heart swell with pride. Of course. There's nothing like the joy of ridiculous family memories. Nonchalant giggles erupted as they began recounting past holiday mishaps and clumsy moments, their voices weaving together like a sweet harmony. Yet amidst the laughter, a thought nagged at Jack, could all of this be fleeting? What would it take to really change, to ensure that these moments counted? Hey, Dad! Olivia's voice interrupted his thoughts, her eyes narrowing slightly. After this storm, will you still be here? The question hung in the air, echoing louder than the storm outside. Jack swallowed, his mind racing. I want to be. I promise. With everything I have, I'll be present, he declared, determination flooding his voice. Even so, doubt clung to the edges of his heart. Could he truly keep that promise? As the night continued, filled with stories and laughter, the sound of the wind howling outside faded to a distant whisper. But just as Jack felt a rise of hope pulse through the familial warmth, a loud bang echoed from the door. His heart raced again. What was that? The door rattled violently, and Emma's eyes went wide. Dad, what if it's someone else needing help? Jack swallowed hard, mind racing through the possibilities. It felt like the calm before the storm. The real storm may just be starting. Should he open the door? Or would that decision unravel everything he'd worked to build? Jack stepped towards the door, heart pounding like a drum in his chest. The fear pooling in his stomach felt like ice. Stay back, girls. He called, trying to sound brave even as dread washed over him. He could feel their eyes on him, full of concern. He glanced back at David, who appeared equally unsettled, a furrow forming his brow. Maybe it's just the wind, David suggested, though his voice lacked conviction. The door rattled again, louder this time, sending a chill slithering down Jack's spine. I'll check, he said, each word heavy with uncertainty. He turned the doorknob, and the storm outside roared back, clashing against the walls of their sanctuary. Be careful. Olivia whispered, the images of winter tales flashing in her young mind likely conjuring both danger and adventure. Jack opened the door just enough for a peek. The swirling snow plastered against the doorframe, and a shape shuffled forward, obscured by the white blanket of chaos. It took a moment for Jack to make out the figure, a woman, bundled up, her face a mask of desperation. Please. Help. she shouted, her voice nearly swallowed by the howling winds. Jack took a breath that steadied him. "Are you all right?" He hadn't expected to find someone out there, stranded, alone in the storm. "She's freezing," David shouted from beside him, concern etched on his features. The woman stumbled a few steps closer, abandoning any pretense of calm. Jack opened the door wider, letting the rush of wind and snow sweep into the room. He didn't dare think too far ahead, but it was either let her in or let her remain to face the elements. "Come in. Come in." He gestured, quickly ushering her inside. As she crossed the threshold, Jack noticed her shivering, arms wrapped tightly around herself. Her eyes darted around the room, landing first on David then on the girls, assessing their safety like she was trying to peel back layers of circumstance to grasp the reality of the moment. At that fleeting second, Jack caught a glimpse of her fragility, a woman lost in the storm, searching for refuge, just like the family he was trying to protect. Thank you," she stammered, shaking off clumps of snow. Jack moved quickly to grab a blanket from the couch, wrapping it around her shoulders. "Are you alone?" he asked, concern bubbling up again. "No. I was with my twins. I came looking for help. They were scared." Her voice cracked, and the fear that resonated behind her words tightened Jack's gut. "Twins?" Emma gasped, her innocent curiosity weaving into a tapestry of urgency. "Yes. I left them at the edge of the woods, just beyond the house." Panic flushed across the woman's face as she began pacing, her hands trembling visibly now. Jack locked eyes with David, a silent agreement passing between them. They couldn't let those children out there face the storm alone. "We'll get them," Jack said, surprising himself with his own confidence. "That's what families do, right?" "Jack, it's dangerous out there," David countered, but urgency swept through Jack like a gust, firming his resolve. "Then we'll go together. We can't let anyone stay out there." Emma took her sister's hand, worry writ in her brow. "Dad, please be careful." A knot formed in Jack's throat. He turned to the girls, the weight of their trust anchoring him. "I'll be back, girls. I promise." As he and David prepared to step out into the swirling white chaos, adrenaline kicked in, urging Jack forward, even as doubts threatened to rise like the wind. But one thought bloomed vividly in his mind: what if he walked away with not just a promise to keep, but a family whole again, a transformation forged in the heart of a snowstorm? And with that, he flung the door wide open, plunging into the unknown, ready to face whatever awaited them beyond the threshold. But as they stepped into the storm, a chilling howl echoed again, deeper this time, almost like a growl. It sent shivers down his spine. Could there be more than just lost twins out there? Was there something lurking in the shadows, waiting to disrupt their path home? The wind bit at Jack's face as he stepped into the abyss of white, his breath forming clouds around him. David was right beside him, although Jack could barely see his friend through the swirl of snowflakes. "Stay close," Jack shouted, the words almost lost in the howling gusts. His heart raced, adrenaline coursing through his veins, urging him to push forward. They had to find those twins. The woman's fear echoed in his mind. What kind of mother would leave her children braving the storm? Jack couldn't shake off that question, nor could he ignore the pressing urgency in his chest. Visibility was poor, reduced to shades of gray and white. Jack advanced cautiously, feeling the crunch of snow beneath his boots. He glanced around, squinting against the stinging snowflakes that whipped against his skin. The trees stood like solemn giants, their branches heavy with snow, casting eerie shadows that seemed to shift and sway. "Do you think they're scared?" David's voice cracked through the chaos. Jack turned to him, trying to find comfort in his friend's presence. "What are we even looking for?" "A clearing. A shape, anything," Jack replied, his voice firm but laced with uncertainty. He remembered the woman's description and pushed through the frustration. "They've got to be close." As they trudged deeper into the woods, Jack couldn't help but think of his daughters back at the house. Their worried faces loomed large in his mind, reminding him why he was here, out in this brutal storm. Suddenly, a faint sound pierced the relentless howl of the wind. Jack froze, straining to listen. It was small and stammering, almost like crying. He turned to David, his pulse quickening. "Did you hear that?" David nodded, eyes wide. They moved in the direction of the sound, urgency pulling them forward. The trees around them formed a suffocating barrier, but they pressed on, each step measured yet desperate. As they broke through a patch of dense brush, Jack's heart dropped at the sight before him. There, by a twisted fallen tree, were two children huddled close together, their small frames nearly lost in the snow. Jack could barely see their faces through the tears and the snowflakes clinging to them, but the shivering was unmistakable. "Help! Mom!" One of the twins cried, the pure desperation in his voice slicing through Jack like a knife. Without thinking, Jack rushed towards them, dropping to his knees to scoop them up in his arms. "Oh my God, we found you!" he exclaimed, relief washing over him like warmth in a freezing storm. David was soon at his side, taking one child while Jack held the other tightly. "We need to get you back," David assured them, keeping his voice calm. The chill seeped through Jack's clothes, but the warmth of their small bodies ignited his spirit. "Is Mom coming?" the little girl asked, her voice so small it broke Jack's heart. "Yes, she is safe," Jack promised, though his own uncertainty gnawed at him. "But we need to hurry. Can you walk?" The twins glanced at each other, fear flickering in their eyes, but they nodded. With cautious steps, they started to move as Jack and David supported them, a protective wall against the storm. Just as they turned back toward the direction they'd come, a sound caused Jack to stop cold. A low, guttural growl rumbled through the trees, echoing through the eerie quiet of falling snow. He froze, his breath hitching in his throat, as David's grip tightened on the screaming child. "Did you hear that?" David said, eyes wide and breathless. Jack nodded, dread pooling deep in his stomach. "We need to move, now." With urgency born from primal instinct, they made their way back through the woods, the howling winds now mixed with an unsettling noise that seemed to follow closely behind them. What was lurking in the shadows, waiting to disrupt their mission? As Jack pushed on, a horrifying thought crept into his mind: what if they weren't the only ones searching for something in this storm? As they hurried through the dense trees, the growling seemed to grow louder, weaving itself into the gusts of wind, amplifying the tension in the air. Jack's heart thundered in his chest, each beat a reminder of the urgency surrounding them. The twins clung close, their small hands trembling in the biting cold, but the warmth they provided was a fleeting comfort against the looming dread. "Stay right behind us," Jack yelled over his shoulder, forcing himself to focus. He felt David's presence next to him, steadying, and yet he couldn't shake the feeling that something watched them, something hungry. The path seemed endless, a tunnel of white, darkness creeping at the edges. Jack's mind raced with thoughts of his daughters, their laughter, their innocence. He couldn't fail these children, not when all they wanted was to return to their mother. Sweat trickled down his back, mixing with the cold, and he gritted his teeth, pushing through the fatigue that weighed on him like the snow on the branches above. "Jack!" David shouted suddenly, causing Jack to pause. He turned and saw David's eyes fixed past him, wide with fear. "We need to go. Now. It's coming." Before he could ask what was wrong, a chilling howl pierced the air, echoing off the trees like a banshee's wail. Instinctively, Jack felt his body move on its own accord. He tightened his grip on the little boy, pulling him close as David clasped the girl's hand firmly. "Run!" Jack barked, adrenaline flooding his veins. He thrust his body forward, the snow now a hindrance rather than the protective shield he'd once thought it to be. Every footfall felt heavy, urgency bleeding into panic. The twins' cries were muffled by the howl of wind, but their trust in Jack fueled his determination. Behind them, the growl morphed into a snarl, a primal sound that reverberated through the winter landscape. Jack dared a glance back, and the sight sent ice through his veins. Dark shapes surged among the trees, moving with frightening speed. Instinct kicked in, and he surged forward, each breath burning in his lungs. "Keep up. Don't look back," he shouted, willing the twins to keep pace. But how fast could they go? Jack didn't know how much energy they had left. The clearing was ahead, but as they approached, an overwhelming despair threatened to pull him back. The visibility shifted, revealing the massive shape of a prowling wolf, teeth bared, eyes glowing with an unsettling hunger. It was closer than he had anticipated, too close. "Jack!" David screamed, and Jack felt the world shift as the little girl pulled away, reaching out for Jack. "Hold on!" Jack yelled, but time was not on their side. In that split second, Jack had to make a choice. Could he risk turning back, or would they push through the storm and hope? Gritting his teeth against the dread rising in his chest, he shouted, "Trust me. Follow me." And with that, he lunged into the clearing, heart racing. The snow flew up around them as they barreled into fresh air, but there was no safety yet. The growls were closer than ever, echoing in his ears, relentless and frightening. Just then, he noticed a flicker of movement at the edge of the forest, a cabin, dark and worn, just barely visible amid the falling flakes. Hope ignited in his chest, and with desperation pushing him forward, he led the twins toward it. "Almost there. We're so close," he encouraged, but a low growl cut him off once more. Whatever hunted them was not prepared to let go so easily. As they reached the door, Jack ripped it open, allowing the twins to tumble inside, followed closely by David. They slammed the door shut, gasping for breath, hearts racing. But the growling continued, now hauntingly close, and Jack leaned against the door, hands shaking. "Are we safe?" the boy whispered, fear lacing his tone, an echo of Jack's own anxiety. "I don't know," Jack said, voice trembling as he glanced around the dim cabin. What other horrors awaited them within these four walls, and would they survive the night? Jack's breath seeped into the cabin's chill, each exhale turning into a visible fog. The darkness felt thick, wrapping around them like an unwanted blanket. He could still hear the creature outside, its growl rumbling through the walls, a reminder of the danger lurking just beyond their fragile shelter. "Jack, is it gone?" David's voice quivered. The little girl's hands clutched the boy's arm, a grip of sheer fear and desperation. "I don't know," Jack replied, trying to sound more certain than he felt. He stepped away from the door, heart racing, and turned to scan the room. The dim light barely illuminated the wooden beams overhead and a dusty table littered with old newspapers. The windows were boarded up, the glass covered by layers of grime that muffled the world outside. They needed a plan. He felt his pulse quicken as he whispered, "We have to barricade the door. If it breaks," and the growl outside came again, louder. The twins huddled closer together, eyes wide, fear etched into their features. Jack's heart ached to see them so scared. They were just kids, innocent and fragile in this terrifying world. He had to protect them. Together, they pushed a heavy wooden table against the door. Jack's muscles strained as he strained to shove it into place, every sound outside amplifying the dread. "Help me," he urged, and David jumped into action, his little body pushing hard against the table. Once the door was secured, Jack knelt down next to the twins, forcing himself to calm down. "Listen to me. We might be safe for now, but we have to stay quiet. If that thing finds us..." He couldn't finish that thought. "Do you trust me?" The twins nodded, their small heads bobbing in unison, even as tremors quaked through them. "Good. Look around. We need to find something that can help us." Jack's gaze swept over the cabin, searching for anything they could use, a weapon, a tool, even a spare blanket to keep warm. There was a fireplace, choked with ash and debris, the remnants of long-forgotten fires. "We might be able to start a fire." If we can find some matches or dry wood, hope flickered in his heart with the thought, but was quickly snuffed out by a sudden thud against the cabin door. David jumped, and Jack's pulse raced anew. They exchanged panicked glances. "Stay close," he urged, edging toward the fireplace. "Jack, I'm scared," little Mia whispered. Her voice was small and broke his heart. "I know, sweetheart. But we're okay," he lied, trying to elude his own fear. "Let us find a way to make ourselves safer." He crouched down, rummaging through the scattered items near the fireplace. A few pieces of wood were dry enough to use, and he could almost smell the fire in his mind. If they could just make this work, if they could just. Another crash followed, this one louder. The door rattled on its hinges, splintering the brief calm. "Hurry!" Jack shouted, grabbing up pieces of wood, feeling frantic. "Jack! It's going to get in!" David cried. "I know!" Jack roared back, more in fear than anger. They needed to act fast. With trembling hands, he found an old metal box hidden in the corner of the room. Inside were matches, faded but potentially usable. Just as he struck one, a deep growl thundered outside the door, shaking the walls. Jack's heart leaped into his throat. Time was running out. He lit the match, desperately shielding the tiny flame from the wind, praying it would catch the wood. "Come on," he whispered, sweat mingling with the chill. If this worked, if they could just hold on until morning. Suddenly, a massive shape slammed against the door again, the hinges creaking under the duress. Jack's heart raced as the match flickered perilously close to dying. "Get back!" he shouted, moving the twins to the corner of the room as he desperately shielded the flame. The door was buckling. Would they even survive the night to see the dawn? As the light danced, the door splintered open, and the growl erupted into a roar that sent chills coursing through him. Fear ignited a primal instinct deep within Jack. In the moment of chaos, he thought, what will I do to protect them? And in that heart-stopping second, he made a choice that would forever change their fate. With a primal yell, Jack lunged at the door, shoving the table against it with every ounce of strength he could muster. The match flickered wildly, the tiny flame mirroring the frantic rhythm of his heart. David and Mia watched in palpable fear, their wide eyes reflecting the chaos unfolding around them. Suddenly, that growl turned into a deafening roar. The air thickened with dread, each thud of the creature against the wooden door reverberating in Jack's bones. Time stretched, each moment heavy with the weight of their vulnerability. Chaos was clawing at the edges of his sanity, but he couldn't let it in. "Not now. Jack!" David cried, his voice trembling. "I know." Jack replied through gritted teeth. Fear surged through him like ice water, and he forced his focus back to the match. It burned, fragile and beautiful, as if the hope of their survival rested solely in its flickering glow. He managed to catch the pieces of wood within the fireplace, one by one, letting them touch the flame. Sparks exploded as it caught, and the tiny fire burst into life, illuminating the corners of the cabin. Light! It filled the space with warmth and the comforting scent of burning wood, banishing the creeping shadows that clung to their every fear. "Look!" Jack shouted, exhilaration breaking through the facade of terror. "We have fire!" The twins' expressions shifted from fear to a glimmer of hope. He felt momentarily buoyed by the warmth, yet a part of him remained vigilant, knowing that the creature outside was not deterred by a simple flame. It roared again, shaking the door like a thunderstorm. The sound sent chills down his spine. "The light will scare it off, right?" Mia whispered, her lips trembling. "Yes, of course. But we need to stay quiet," Jack replied, his voice steadier than he felt, laced with determination. The fire crackled as he struggled to keep its light flickering. "Just stay close to me." As the flames grew, they cast dancing shadows, creating shapes that made the room feel alive, almost comforting, a stark contrast to the menace outside. Jack gathered additional wood, feeding the fire voraciously. Each piece that burned brought warmth, but each roar outside reminded him they were still in grave danger. Then, amidst the chaos, he caught a glimpse of something strange in the flickering light. Shadows danced outside the boarded window. Jack's heart raced again. Those boards won't hold. He blurted out, panic creeping back in. We need to reinforce the windows. Should I help? David asked, his voice filled with uncertainty. Stay back with Mia, Jack replied firmly. I'll handle it. Swallowing his fear, Jack approached the windows, breathing in deeply. He grabbed an old stool, dragging it across the cabin. It scraped along the wooden floor, echoing in the dread-laden silence. With trembling hands, he wedged it against one of the windows, but a screech outside sent his heart crashing into his stomach. He glanced back at the twins, terrified. They were huddled together, eyes darting between the door and the window. We're not going to let it in. We'll fight together, he reassured, steel in his voice, but just as he finished his sentence, another crash erupted from the door. The sound was different now, almost desperate. It was as if the creature was frustrated, determined to take what was hiding inside. Jack's breath hitched. They could handle this, right? There had to be a way. As he turned away from the window, he felt a sense of impending doom. Yet inside him burned a fire more potent than the one crackling beside them, a resolve to protect the lives of the children in his care. This fight was no longer just his, it was theirs, and as the creature roared its fury, Jack knew the moment was fast approaching when he would have to confront this nightmare head-on. What would it mean for them? Would they have the strength to survive together? Jack! It's coming! David shouted, eyes wide in horror. The door buckled again, splintering wood flying across the cabin. The creature was about to break through. Jack felt his heart pound at the possibilities. Fight or flight, life or death. In the moment of truth, he wondered if he had what it took to protect them, and then, it happened. The door burst open with a violent crash, splintered wood flying in every direction, as if the very structure of their sanctuary was surrendering to the beast outside. A gust of frigid air blasted into the cabin, swirling around the dancing flames and sending a chill down Jack's spine. He stood frozen, adrenaline racing through his veins, heart pounding like a drum. It emerged from the shadows, a hulking figure cloaked in darkness, eyes glowing with primal hunger. Fear radiated from the children, and in that moment, Jack felt like the only barrier between them and the abyss. Stay behind me! He shouted, his voice fueled by raw instinct. The creature paused, snapping its jaws, muscles coiling with tension, and for a fleeting instant, time seemed to slow. Jack's mind raced, calculating his next move. He couldn't let fear dictate his actions, not now, not ever. Get away from them! Jack roared, determination flaring within him. He snatched a heavy log from the fireplace, his grip tight around the rough texture, and stepped forward, drawing on every ounce of courage. Mia, David, find something. His command was sharp, urgency crackling in the air. They leapt into action without hesitation, rummaging through the room for anything to defend themselves. The creature lunged, teeth bared, its growl reverberating through the floorboards. Jack swung the log, connecting with a sickening thud against its side. It stumbled back, momentarily shocked, and Jack's heart soared. But the relief was brief. The beast was relentless. It shook off the blow, eyes narrowing as they locked onto Jack. Don't look at it, just focus on the fire. Jack shouted to the twins, his voice steady despite the chaos. They were still vulnerable, but he could feel the flicker of unity igniting among them. Mia grabbed a poker from the fireplace. What if it comes for us? She asked, her voice trembling, but resolve shimmered in her eyes as she held the improvised weapon. We face it together. Jack replied, a fierce pride swelling in his chest. They were siblings, fighters trained to protect one another. The creature growled again, baring its fangs, and lunged forward, this time targeting Jack. In one fluid motion, he ducked to the side, raising the log to defend himself. The brute force behind the creature's attack sent shockwaves through the cabin as it barreled past him. Jack's heart raced as he turned just in time to see it skidding to a stop, eyes re-evaluating him, calculating its next attack. In that moment, he locked eyes with the beast, fierce and primal. "I want to let you take them," he whispered under his breath, knowing he had to summon the strength he didn't know he possessed. Then, in a sudden flash, Jack spotted a beam of light from the window. It wasn't just the light from the fire, it was as if the moon, though hidden behind clouds, had sent a ray to shine on them. The fire cast an eerie glow, illuminating their resolve, as if the universe were granting them a moment of grace. The creature lunged again, but this time, fueled by hope and the fierce bond he shared with the twins, Jack found his footing. He met the beast head-on, raising the log high, prepared to strike. Just then, a horrifying realization hit him. A single movement could alter the course of their lives forever. What if this wasn't just about survival? What if he could save them all if victory was within his grasp? Jack's heart thundered, the urgency rising like the flame before him. And as every instinct screamed at him to fight, he wondered if they had truly prepared themselves for the horror that was about to unfold. What if this creature was not just an animal but a symbol of their fears, and at this very moment, confronting the beast was just the beginning? Together! Jack shouted again as he steadied himself, heart racing towards the inevitable clash. Would they emerge stronger, or would the darkness swallow them whole? The beast lunged, a swirling mass of fury and hunger. Jack met it with fire in his heart and a log raised high, ready to defend his daughters and the innocent twins. As he steadied his grip, David and Mia positioned themselves beside him, their unity forming a bulwark of hope against the encroaching darkness. "Now!" Jack shouted, and they surged forward together. He swung the log with all his might, aiming for the creature's flank. It howled in agony, and for a split second, the wild and unrelenting force seemed taken aback by their collective stand. Jack felt a surge of adrenaline boost through him, his focus sharp, each breath harnessing every ounce of desperation and purpose. "Keep it away from the door," David urged, wielding the poker with shaky hands but steadfast resolve. Mia echoed his sentiment, her voice rising above the chaos, bolstering their determination. Just then, the cabin reverberated with the beast's growls, a sound raw and primal that struck fear deep into their hearts. But Jack looked into the faces of the twins beside him and felt the weight of responsibility. He couldn't back down. They were relying on him, he had already made that promise. With newfound strength, he led the charge, their united front pushing toward the beast. Jack pressed forward, dodging the creature's snapping jaws, fueled by the desperate urge to protect. Each swing of the log felt like a testament of his resolve, each roar from the beast became a reminder of what he stood to lose. "Move, keep moving," he shouted, adrenaline pumping. As he struck again this time, the log connected squarely against the side of the creature's head. It reeled back, and a flicker of hope ignited within Jack. Suddenly, amidst the chaos, he caught sight of a hidden door behind the fireplace, the escape they needed. "To that door!" he yelled out, scrambling in its direction. The beast, momentarily dazed, shifted its focus back upon him. Just as Jack turned, he felt a jolt ricochet through him as the beast lunged again. "Watch out!" Mia screamed, her voice laced with terror. Jack braced himself, but David, in a swift motion, swung the poker with newly found resolve, deflecting the creature away. "We've got to get the twins out first," Jack snapped, urging David and Mia toward the door. The twins clung together as they stumbled toward the low exit, the fear dispelled by the burning desire for safety. Jack shoved against the beast once again, gritting his teeth as it snarled, ready to charge. "Go! Run! I'll follow!" he shouted, backing into the fiery glow of the warmth they had kindled. He watched as the twins ducked through the door and David urged them forward, their small bodies slipping out into the cold night. "Jack!" Mia called out, her voice a desperate plea tugging at his soul. "I'm right behind you," he replied, forcing himself to stand firm, locking his gaze onto the beast, preparing one last stand. The flames of the cabin flickered wildly, illuminating the fear-stricken expression of David as he rounded back, trying to grab Jack before he met fate, but Jack held his ground. Go! I can't let it follow. Desperation singing in his heart, he swung once more, adrenaline thrumming through him. Then, with a final shove, he struck at the door just beyond. It creaked open, the moon broke through the clouds, bathing the scene in ethereal light. Jack felt powerful. While the creature's gaze narrowed on him, a notion surged within the fight wasn't just for him anymore. Come on. He urged one last time, allowing David to pull Mia through. The door creaked shut behind them, their fates lingering in the balance. Jack, fueled by unyielding power, gave an earth-shattering yell, an expression of his determination echoing through the night. In a spectacular moment, he bolted through the door, leaping into the open night as he slammed it behind him. The chill of the air hit him sharply, but behind him, he could hear the beast battering against the wood. Now together outside, the twins weaved their small arms around him. Jack felt their warmth, an electric pulse of reassurance, with David. They scrambled away from the cabin, moving as far as possible, hearts pounding. Jack felt weightless for the first time, his spirit entwined with his daughter's. The primal fear melted in the warmth of their bond. As they sought shelter, hands clasped tightly, Jack turned to his daughters, their eyes shimmering with unshed tears, faces streaked with resolve. We're family, he said, each word resolute, planting a seed that would flourish from that day onward. I'm sorry for everything, but from now on, I'll prove I'm here. I want to be here. The storm had not weathered their spirits. Together, they forged forward, a tapestry of warmth against the wilds of the world. Finally, the storm began to lift, the howling winds diffusing into a gentle, soft whisper. In their hearts, hope burgeoned anew, transformed into a promise, one filled with love, laughter, and unity. They would remain together, overcoming the darkness. No storm could separate them again. As they trudged through the snow, hand in hand, it felt like a rebirth of family, of connection, of the bond they had fought so hard to preserve. The dawn was coming, and as it peeked over the horizon, it brought renewal. Jack knew, in that moment, they would tackle the storms ahead, together. Now it's your turn. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories that tug at your heart. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. The more you engage, the more powerful these stories become. Comment below. What are your thoughts and feelings about this incredible ending? And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this awesome transformation. Let us spread the love and power of family together.